In my final year at university, I started to look at the material supply chain for the ceramics industry.
This is Sara Howard, an award-winning designer dedicated to pioneering circular and regenerative systems in the ceramics industry and beyond.
And there's probably around 12 different components that go into any one ceramic cup. These are all being extracted globally, not always ecologically or socially responsible.
This fueled her ambition to create an alternative. A ceramic cup that is in full alignment with the planet. It costs $18. So this is 300,000 rupiah. And then I went on Tokopedia and I looked for a similar one. It's 16,000. That's less than $1. Are they using sustainability as a cover to rip us off? Can't we just create products that are truly good for the planet at the same price as the ones that harm it?
No, not without people not getting fairly paid, respect for resources. It's the fair price and it respects the planet, the people. That's 16,000 rupiah cup.
It's insane. How much blood was cost in the production of this one? We don't know. These are the questions that we need to start asking because they have the potential to create better alternatives. If we want to create a more beautiful future than we currently have on this planet, we definitely need to rethink how we produce the goods that we need for our everyday lives. Otherwise, there will be no future for life on this planet. But how do we navigate this gargantuan task? Do you sometimes feel overwhelmed?
100%, yeah. We distribute waste with Gladitz Studio. We're working in tons, like maybe 4 or 5, 6 tons of waste that we can distribute.
What's the whole global waste thing?
Well, in the UK, we're looking at like, yeah, it's definitely 30 plus or 28 million. Yeah, it feels overwhelming, but I haven't got to the point yet where it feels like it's not worth it.
Join Sara and me as we trace the journey from extraction to regeneration and imagine a world where every product is an act of custodianship. Enjoy the conversation. Welcome to the Custodian podcast, Sara.
Thank you very much.
Thank you for being here. I'm very looking forward to our conversation and to explore a topic that sits at the intersection of what the two of us are interested in. And to open that, I would like to read a post of you. This is how we first connected. It's a post called, this definitely caught my attention, it's a post called Transfer of Clay Custodianship. And I'd like to read a short excerpt because this is a beautiful introduction into what we're talking about today. And you wrote, viewing myself as a custodian of the earth and the materials that make up my everyday life and practice encourages me to think holistically about their entire lifespan. I often find myself questioning what I will do with these materials if they no longer serve a purpose during my time with them. In the phase of the Anthropocene, I am deeply grateful for the opportunity to learn from communities whose relationship with resources centers on stewardship and responsibility. From those reconnecting with our landscapes to those who uphold ancient indigenous wisdom. Looking forward to the conversation evolving as I reflect, refine, and continue to learn. Let's continue this conversation today.
Yeah, that post came from the work I do with Gladitz Studio, where it's a platform where we give people access to waste materials from the construction industry. And part of giving out materials, we're trying to build that framework of how can we respect and have the same value for it if we're not exchanging monetary value. And so that is, for me, quite a new philosophy that I'm developing, and I'm still learning about really and trying to have those discussions to understand it more holistically and how it applies differently to different aspects of the world. And that came from a conversation with a group of ceramicists in Australia. And definitely in Australia and in America, that philosophy of being stewards is a little bit more developed than where I'm from in the UK. And so yeah, I learned a lot from them and learned from a guy called Robbie who runs Revival Practice and distributes wood from felled trees in the area. And yeah, for me, that I'm learning from others in terms of that and trying to see how it applies to my practice and my life. But for me, I'm really conscious about resources and working with byproducts rather than virgin resources. And so that comes into it really nicely and builds a more holistic view about the whole lifetime of these materials.
I find that so beautiful because I think if we want to create a more beautiful future than we currently have on this planet on a global scale, we definitely need to rethink how we produce the goods that we need for our everyday lives. Like everything that surrounds us is something that was originally a part of the earth and that we changed, like be it the clothes, the everything around us was once a part of Mother Earth, and we turned these resources into goods for our everyday life. But like at the core of your practice is this assumption that if we extract these resources, turn them into goods, and then at the end of their lifespan just dispose them as waste, we are not only doing the earth a disservice, but also leaving a lot of potential on the table, because these valuable resources that we extracted and that we manufactured into our goods, we just abandon them, and you find a beautiful use for them in order for them to be transformed into new goods. And to there's a beautiful quote by Daniel Schmachtenberger. It's one of my favorite quotes from him, and he says, "You can't run an exponentially growing linear materials economy on a finite planet forever." Meaning, like, there are basically, if we continue this approach of extracting resources from the earth, turning them into goods, disposing them at the end, like sometime in the future, probably in the near future, we will run out of resources to extract because we have a finite planet. So there are basically like three approaches what we can do. Either, as some of the techno-optimists are proposing, just find a new planet that we can extract from. We just abandon Earth when we extracted everything, just find another planet and do the same thing again, and then find another planet and so on, which is not very wise because we will just postpone the problem into the future.
Or maybe not realistic.
Yeah, maybe
I'm not sure.
We don't know. I think that's beyond our scope of skill to assess that, but it doesn't feel like a viable option. Second option would be to change the whole economic system that needs to grow at all costs by creating something that never before in the history of our species was there, that is not based on interest, that's like a completely new form of money, which I think is part of the equation, but seems like very, very far out there. Or the third approach, and this is what you're focusing on, don't see the creation of new goods in the way it is currently done, meaning extraction, production, and then waste, but shift into a circular system where there's no end, where the valuable resources end on a landfill, but actually it gets reused and recycled and repurposed again. So I love the work that you're doing, and I think from that, and that's one of my intentions for today, we can explore how the principles that you're using are not only valid for the material of ceramics, but how we can think about producing our everyday goods in general in other realms as well. And besides that, and that's my second intention for today, to explore how this beautiful approach that you're practicing every day, how this can be scaled to dimensions that are beyond what is currently present. Because I think before we started the interview, we just talked about all the beautiful projects that are already present here in Bali, where we're sitting, and like if they would dial the level of their impact to like 10x, 100x, 1000x, I think then we are in a realm of where we can really think about building a new future on this planet. So yeah, these are my intentions for today. How do you feel about that? Anything you would like to add?
No, I look forward to delving into it deeper and also learning about your philosophies, and like I'm still growing and understanding the world we live in, right? It's
Same.
always changing, like from day to day.
Yeah.
We have conflict, we have, so many things happening and information that we get. So, I think there isn't going to be, whatever we discuss today also might evolve and change in 6 months, a year, 5 years.
Maybe even tomorrow.
Maybe tomorrow, depends what happens
Yeah.
on this planet. So, I'm really looking forward to discussing.
Cool, beautiful. Maybe to start with the physical manifestation of your work.
Mm-hmm.
Can you share with me the story of this cup?
Sure.
Like, what went? Like, how was the process until I'm holding it in my hand right now, and are able to drink this beautiful rosella tea? And how is that different from probably 99.9% of the ceramic cups that I can buy out there? Like, walk us through this whole circular approach in practice. How does it look like?
So this takes me back maybe 5 or 6 years ago to the start of why this cup exists here. And I studied ceramic design at university in London, and I always had sustainability as a part of my practice, and it was always probably the dominant factor in every project and every brief that I had. I would find a way to ensure it was sustainable. And in my final year at university, I started to look at the material supply chain for the ceramics industry. And ceramics is often thought of as a low impact material. People think that clay is from the earth, but the reality is that all the components, and there's probably around 12 different components and minerals that go into any one ceramic cup on average. And these are all being extracted globally, not always ecologically or socially responsible. And in that process of researching and mapping out the supply chains, I couldn't actually even connect the materials that I had access to at my university, whether it's like potash feldspars or china clays, ball clays, or the oxides that we use to get colour. I couldn't track it down to its source because that supply chain was just so vast. So a lot of my research...
Which is the case probably for all the products. Like, if you look at the supply chain for things like this, it's even more crazy.
Yeah, and actually a lot of my research, because there isn't much information about ceramic supply chain, a lot of my research came from Fairphone, if you're familiar.
Where's mine?
You have a Fairphone?
Yeah.
Amazing. So
nobody knows that. How do you know Fairphone? Beautiful.
Because they do amazing research and they share it publicly. So they have a fair materials sourcing roadmap, which comes out every year. And a lot of the minerals in your phone or in your tablet also are present in ceramics. So that's how I can find a lot of case studies and information about scarcity or impact of extraction. I get a lot of that from Fairphone and the great work that they do. So after just quite heavy research and some really uncomfortable case studies that you then realise like child labour is linked to a ceramic cup, I decided I wanted to redesign the supply chain, and I was based in London at that time. So that meant working with local industries that consume the same raw materials as ceramics, but identifying what their waste materials and byproducts were that were going to landfill or didn't have a secondary reuse, and experimenting, testing and finding ways that we could process it so that we could treat it as a raw material to make ceramics. And so I learned a lot about industrial symbiosis, especially the work in Kalundborg in Denmark, and how these symbiotic relationships are mutually beneficial. And that is something that I just thought that is how we should be operating in all aspects of our life. And
it just makes sense, right?
It just makes sense.
You're asking yourself the question, why is nobody else
why are we not
doing
doing this? Financially rewarding,
it makes sense on all
ecologically,
levels.
socially.
Yeah. And for me, the appreciation of knowing how much level of care and love and attention to detail went into the product that I'm holding in my hand makes the tea taste 3 times as good. Like
That's
really,
good.
really. Because I see it and I'm like, wow, like, I appreciate what went into this if it's designed in a way that is actually in alignment with the whole.
Yeah. Yeah, and it's these everyday objects are often overlooked. Most people won't even consider who made it,
It's
how
just
they
a
made
fucking
it,
cup,
and,
like,
and with what.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's bringing that story into it. And I mean, this for me is an example of, because back in London, like I was able to produce a series of tableware, but for me it wasn't about just making more things, and we didn't need more cups and plates in the world. Me working on a small scale, I couldn't compete with the bigger market and offer a solution that was financially feasible for a lot of people.
Yeah.
So that's why I'm now in Bali, because in 2022, I always had the mission to scale up, and I partnered with Kavala in order to see, I didn't know at that time, see if it was possible to apply those symbiotic relationships with other industries, apply it on a bigger scale with a manufacturer, and also in a different country. There was going to be other barriers that I couldn't preempt. So yeah, that started in 2022, and we spent about a year researching until we got our first prototype. But there was a lot of challenges, like the industries that I worked with in London didn't exist in Bali. The same industrial equipment that would produce the byproduct that I used to make a glaze didn't exist. So the first 6 months were about understanding the economy in Bali, and especially the economy of waste. What was waste?
It's quite big.
It's quite big, and it's so different. Like some materials that don't have value in the UK have value here. So you might end up paying for waste, whereas I never paid for waste in the UK. Just finding those industries that exist, how they were managing their waste, whether it was being exported to Java or going to landfill. So that 6 months research was really heavy, and it was also about understanding Kavala's factory and how they were operating. They are specialising in bespoke tableware for hospitality, bespoke design, so there's nothing is the same on the factory floor ever, so things are constantly changing. So I really had to spend that year getting a holistic view of what was happening. And after producing the first prototype, we then went into production. Lots of challenges, like maybe the higher reject rates at the start, because we were working with a material that wasn't always consistent, and trying to navigate that. So yeah, that's kind of how we are here today and how the cup was made.
Amazing. So you said around 12 different components go into making a cup like this, and all of them are waste.
So the clay body, which is the majority of the material, this is made from the wastewater treatment system at the factory. So when the artisans are washing their hands or they're manufacturing the clay, we have all the wastewater which goes into the same drain. And before, that water was going to the public drain, and that clay we would then collect and go to landfill. So now what happens is that water is then harvested for rainwater, and that residue that is collected, we have a small system we engineered where it gets sieved and it gets filter pressed to remove the excess water, and that clay body that is produced is used to use that collection.
So in the process of manufacturing cups, we are basically like flushing down other cups.
Yeah.
Like, it's insane.
Yeah, the clay is a byproduct of the production of Kavala, but that clay body is made from around 8 different components, to different minerals to make that original clay body. But this is just what is coming from the wastewater.
And you get it for free.
Of course.
Of course, you need to engineer the whole thing, and
Yeah.
you need to think about. Of course, it's
machinery and
Yeah.
labour
Yeah.
to run the filter press,
Yeah.
but coming at a fraction of the cost. Yeah. And the glaze is we work with Sungai Watch, who collect consumer waste from Bali's rivers, and yeah, for me that was a new relationship, because the glass waste I used in London was coming from glass panel manufacturers, and that machine didn't exist here. It's a line edge polisher. It's quite a large piece of equipment. So discovering Sungai Watch and the amazing work that they're doing, and learning at the time that they had a problem with glass waste building up because it was no longer profitable for them to export it to be recycled in the mainland. So looking and exploring ways that we could use it in our production to replace minerals that we would instead import. And these minerals were extracted and really energy intensive because the material it replaces is frits, and frits have to undergo a very high energy process in order to become what it is. To get it as a secondary resource and have this symbiotic relationship with Sungai Watch where they can offload it to us, and we pay for that waste, and because they process it, they clean it, wash it.
That's a lot of work.
It's a lot of work. They crush it.
Yeah.
That's the only time I've ever paid for waste, and we paid 23 times less than that virgin raw material. So
Wow.
yeah,
23 times less.
for
That's
me,
like 4%.
I
Wow.
have to always ensure what we're doing is financially
Of course.
feasible, otherwise we can't sustain it. So yeah, even though we're paying for it, it's coming at a fraction of the cost, and we save our virgin resources from being extracted and imported, and we can support them. So it's got that, and then it's also got stone slurry waste from marble and granite manufacturers, which we collect from a factory off Gatsu. And yeah, but we also do have some virgin resources in that glaze. We did try 100%, but that reject rate was so high that we had to balance the rejects we had and a good volume of waste. So
what's the percentage?
the glaze is 30% waste, and so we have, but the glaze is just the outside. So it's hard to calculate it as a whole product. So the body is 100% waste and the glaze is 30. And that's a conversation I constantly have with artists or designers about striving for the 100% waste because it looks good, commercially really sounds great, but internally what is happening in order to produce that. So
there's always this idealism and then pragmatism and like
the feasibility.
There was the everyday challenge in building this place. Like there was this image of let's do it 100% fully aligned, everything decomposing, like, and at the same time, of course, there are financial challenges. Then there are like the place where you're currently at. There's maybe not even the like maybe one story, the stairs that you walk down to come here. This is all Ulin wood, and there's no concrete involved. And I think nobody in Bali ever before built stairs on this kind of steep slope without concrete. We have earth screws. These are like 2 meter long metal screws that you drill into the earth with a kind of machine, and then afterwards you can take it out. Meaning, if we would leave, like we would leave no traces behind, because we can take the Ulin, we can recycle it, we can do anything without it, and we can even take out the screws. And this is something that like our workers, they didn't know how to do it. Like nobody here in Bali knew how to do it, and we needed to learn that, and we figured it out, and it was quite a path, like how to operate with this machine on like, I don't know, 30-degree slope and so on. So there are always challenges in the, like, of course we have this ideal image in mind, but what are we capable of in the here and now? And to stretch like the scope of what you're able to do, I think every day with every step. That's the path.
We do have a collection that is 100% byproducts of the factory, where the glaze is from the waste glaze from the spray booths of the factory. And I think for me, it's like, how can we infiltrate these waste materials into the production of Kavala at a 30% rate or 50% of the glazes, rather than having one that is 100%. I think there's other ways to do it, and we never stop striving for the 100% or getting close to it. But at the time we have to be realistic, and those are some of the sacrifices that we make in the product.
And at the same time knowing that the 100% has a huge capability of like broadening the perspective of people, like inspiring, opening, like if like for me just the image of I'm holding this cup in my hands, and this was made out of weight, like it's if this is possible, like, how can we think differently about all the other products of our everyday life? So I think, like, seeing your efforts into pushing the envelope as far as possible as a beacon of what beyond just this cup is possible when people know about like the whole process, the circular approach, everything that went into it. So I think you're having an impact that goes far beyond just how people drink their tea or their coffee, which is very beautiful.
Yeah, or just making people rethink the everyday things that we use. Yeah. That's what I hope. Yeah.
On your website, I found your definition of circular ceramics, and you say it's the embodiment of symbiotic relationships with material flows that previously did not exist. Meaning, you are basically connecting material flows that before were isolated. Okay, the construction company or like whatever is doing their path, and then there's the ceramics manufacturer, and they are doing their thing. But they both, like, if we would bring them together, we can create something that would benefit everybody involved,
Exactly.
including the earth.
Yeah, exactly. I think with the Industrial Revolution, we siloed our industries and we focused on profit and efficiency. And now we're in this new age of waste, and that's what I've grown up in, and I've seen the impact of it on nature. And for me, it's like trying to bring these connections back together so that we know what is available or what you're making and how could that benefit me, and what can I give to you that could benefit your production. And so as a designer, I don't know sometimes what to call myself, but as a designer, I'm not a maker in terms of making products, but I see myself more like designing those relationships between industries and manufacturers and people, and so that we can start to build bridges for the sake of the earth and preserving resources.
I think we can draw so much inspiration from, and that's why I like to live here, like, because in the forest you see how circular systems operate. Like, there's the bamboo, and the bamboo leaf, when it's at the end of its lifespan, it's turning brown and it falls down and it hits the floor. And of course you could say, if you isolate the industries in the forest, like for the bamboo, it produces waste. There's a leaf, it cannot use, but the leaf of the bamboo, the waste, is food for the ants and for the bugs and for the, I don't know, whatever, and maybe it's shelter for the, like, it serves as super valuable resources for other industries within the forest. And if you broaden your perspective and if you look at the whole forest as an ecosystem, there's no such thing as waste.
No.
And it's a human-made concept.
Yeah.
Like, before the rise of Homo sapiens, there was no waste on this planet. And we invented this concept, and realizing that we invented that, and that's not a natural thing that was here all along, opens the possibility of, if we invented it, maybe we can change it. Maybe we can take inspiration from how the forest works and duplicate this circular approach for all the things that we manufacture for our daily lives. Of course, you said you were studying the whole landscape in Bali for 6 months before you actually produced anything. Of course, it's difficult. Like, go into the forest and learn how the whole ecosystem works. It takes you years. Like, you're just sitting there and you're like, oh my God, but you're overwhelmed by the sheer complexity of the millions of different species and processes. But I think this is what's required of us, because otherwise we'll blow the whole thing up and future will not be nice.
Do you think we're too far down the road to undo that work that we've done, or the damage that we've done?
I think it's not about undoing. I don't see anything that happened as a mistake. I think it was the only path available, because of how how our evolution works. So that does not mean that I'm 100% sure that in 100 years we will all live beautiful lives and all the problems are solved. I don't know.
Yeah.
Maybe we will go extinct. I don't know. I don't know about that. And still, I don't think that anything could have happened differently.
Yeah. That's part of the journey that
I think it's definitely part of the
humans
journey
went on.
to realize. In my book, I told a story that beautifully illustrates that when a chicken embryo grows inside the egg, it consumes everything around it as food to someday grow strong enough to break the eggshell to be able to be birthed into this world. But in order to develop this strength, it needs to consume everything around it. So I have the feeling that this extractive path that we as a species were on, that fueled our technological capacities, our intelligence, all the our ability to build things, and this now can fuel our wisdom to change this trajectory. But that's just a feeling. I don't know. We will see.
Yeah, we'll see.
And I think it's upon us to contribute each and every day what is uniquely ours to contribute.
Yeah, I agree.
Yeah.
I agree. Yeah. Yeah.
Do you sometimes feel overwhelmed?
100%. Yeah, I think you see wars happening, and sometimes you just think, "What am I doing?"
Yeah.
Like, we invest a lot of energy into in the global sense, little things, right? Like, even though I'm working with mass manufacturers, it's just one in the whole world.
Yeah.
And like when we distribute waste with Golden Studio, we're working in tons, like maybe 4 or 5, 6 tons of waste that we can distribute.
What's the whole global waste thing?
Well, in the UK, we're
paint a
looking at
picture.
it's definitely 30 plus or 28 million. I don't know. When you look at the stats, it can be overwhelming. And sometimes we stay in our communities a little bit, so we feel like we're all on the same wavelength and on the same mission. So
everybody's doing that.
That we're there's more people in the fight, but actually globally, you look at people just continuing to destruct, and the word wars is definitely a bit more prominent these days, and it's just like, how can I continue to make an impact, and are we having any benefit when we're just constantly pushed down by these things? So it feels overwhelming, but I haven't got to the point yet. I hope it never happens where it feels like it's not worth it. So I still continue to push on, even though reality can sometimes come into it.
For me personally, these moments of overwhelm, I see them as a gift because I have the feeling that it purifies my efforts, meaning if I do something to achieve a certain outcome, then I'm not in the present moment, and I'm not like, I want to spend as much as my time as much as possible working in a sense of flow, where I'm in the present moment and I'm just doing the thing that wants to be done right now, and I lose track of time, and then it's the evening and I'm like, wow, what a day. But this only can, and this is the most productive state. This is the state where you create like incredible things within a couple of hours. But this state can only occur when you focus on the task at hand. And the moment you shift your attention to, I want to achieve X, Y, Z in the future, you're not in the present moment and you can't step into your full creative capacities. And I think this, for me personally, this overwhelm only swallows me when I'm in, okay, I can do this now, and then I achieve a certain outcome. Mm-hmm. And when you're outcome focused, you're not contributing your highest gifts to the task at hand. And then I focus, that's always this sense of purification. What I said is like, I'm swallowed by this overwhelm. Like, wow, okay, this is going on and this, and here, like, as much as me and all the people that I know are putting in effort to build a beautiful future, like the counter force is even accelerating. Mm-hmm. And for the mind, it feels like a game we cannot win. Mm-hmm. But I have the feeling that this is the wrong approach, because this whole linear thinking of, okay, today we did this step and then tomorrow we did, and then I can anticipate and then next year and whatever, like with this way of being, we cannot build something new, because it always comes from this non-grounded, non-present mode of being. So I always see those moments of overwhelm as an invitation to come back to myself and to contribute what I'm asked to contribute in the here and now, while being in my alignment, and then letting the chips fall.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think for me, I set little goals about that will contribute to the bigger goal. But I guess if you're on that linear approach, then, and you're really fixated on that goal, there's no adaptability, that an openness that things might have to change, whether it's in your control or not. Like the outcome will potentially has to differ, because it's not feasible to do the stairs or.
And the thing is, like in the I think the whole, like we talked about the complexity of the forest, which is still a fraction of the complexity of the whole dynamics on this planet, which, like, so for me, realizing that this is so far beyond my scope of understanding, who am I to set a certain goal and then expect this outcome, and then, like, if I could imagine how the whole sequence of events lead to this beautiful paradise, like, I just can't. Because it's so much more complex than I can hold.
And that is overwhelming.
Yeah.
to try and understand everything.
And at the same time, for me, it's liberating, because I'm like, okay, I'm just the little ant in the forest doing its thing, contributing to the whole ecosystem without needing to save the whole thing, which I can't.
Yeah. I think even within ceramics and sustainability, I know what I am passionate about and where I could have an impact. There's other things like kiln technology, on switching to hydrogen power, to power kilns instead of LPG and electric. I don't know anything about hydrogen power, so I'll leave that to the other guys to fix. But what I'm going to focus on is material sourcing and the design side and getting it into customers' hands. So yeah, I think one thing I always advise to people when I give talks is to pick your battles. Otherwise you're going to run out of energy and you're going to burn out, be exhausted. And yeah, I think even small niche topics are much more complicated when you delve deep into it. So yeah, I think even in sustainability and ceramics, I've only selected a few areas that I really want to put all my energy into, and maybe that will ripple out into other areas and have impact amongst different communities. But yeah, I'm quite focused in what I want to change.
I would even say don't pick any battles, because I think like the if you're measuring the impact of this cup is a lot greater if it's a product of love compared to the result of a battle, for me, because it has a different frequency. And if this was created out of the pure love for designing a cup with a circular approach, knowing all the ingredients, knowing where they are coming from, knowing how they can be reused at the end of its lifespan and so on, then not only our path is a lot more joyful, but I think the impact is greater as well.
Yeah. But I think a lot of people are disconnected about who is making it.
Yeah.
You know, we're lucky here on the island that you can come and visit the factory and see how it's made, but we have clients overseas and it's hard to get that feeling and message across, you know, when we have global systems that we rely on.
Yeah, with everything we do. I think without the global supply chain, just simply the phone in your pocket, like without any continent, it could not be, could not have been manufactured. And that's why I fully agree with you, like focus on what is your individual niche, what is your individual area of contribution, that where your passions and your talents and the need of the world overlap. And at the same time, have a broad perspective outside your niche and see how all the other industries and all the other systems that that have relationships with what I'm doing. Like, I think the broader my perspective is and the more I'm studying what is really going on, what is on the table, the higher the chances are that the unique, that the step that is uniquely mine that I will do does not cause harm elsewhere, but actually contributes to the whole set of dynamics that are present even outside my niche.
Yeah, I agree. Yeah, I think that holistic view is, even if we're working with local businesses or communities, like you still have to think globally about how things are going to be impacted. Yeah.
Let's come back to the topic of waste, and then later on I would absolutely love to dive deeper into how you see your path as a custodian and how you deal with like those dynamics that we touched upon, because I think we can understand and we can think about all these dynamics on an intellectual level, but it's a completely different thing to in the arena every single day be able to bring this into reality, what you're seeing. So I would absolutely love to come back to that. But before, one quality I would say that from studying your work, based off everything you're putting online, that I see repeating again and again is transparency. You're talking a lot about transparency. You're talking a lot about making your practices open source, and not. There's this one quote. Did I write that down? Where was that? Solutions should not be locked away in patents. Accessibility and transparency have the potential to create systemic changes which have a wider positive ecological and societal impact.
From my book.
Was it from your book?
Yeah, I think so.
Can
or maybe
be.
It's somewhere else as well.
Can be.
But yeah, that's definitely in my book, which is open source. And in London, once I had created the collection and thinking about impact, like me making more things isn't going to change anything, but also how can we get other people and other makers and producers making the same way in order to have a collective bigger impact. Coming across Creative Commons, who is a platform that allow you to release your work open source, and you have different levels of licenses on how you can protect your work. So the one I chose is share alike. So when I release my methods and my processes so that other people can also adopt it, it's released with share alike, which means that you just have to credit and also release under the same terms. And by doing so, you get a ripple effect of more and more people as different communities adopt it. It infiltrates their communities, and yeah, that's something that I hadn't seen much in design. There's like a few examples. It's more so in science. You see that in papers, but yeah, it was a bit of a challenge navigating that in design world. But
why?
Because it's not always respected, and people have different ideas and might take advantage of transparency and openness, and I definitely struggled with that at the start, and emotionally probably more than the work itself. But I went through a process of learning how to deal with it, pick the battles that you want to take on, but ultimately I just continue to do what I do, and it hasn't become a significant issue. And I get questioned a lot, especially at the start, about the commercial viability, about giving your IP away and the impact that's going to have on your business financially. And yeah, I always kind of stuck to my guns. And I mean, still, like, I've had other ceramicists adopt the same practice, credit, and you know, I'm not going to go and produce ceramics in Australia, so it's amazing that someone was able to use the methods and do that there, and I don't take any ownership of that. And I think that is how, if we really do want to make progress, if we don't want to bring others on board and move as a herd, then like you can't really be passionate about your mission if you don't want to bring other people onto it. So yeah, that's a challenge, the Creative Commons, open source, but I really think in the long term it is beneficial to the planet and people.
How do you, because you mentioned that, and I think this stretch between, and there we are again in idealism versus pragmatism, like there is this voice inside yourself that tells you like, wow, I found out something that could be valuable for the whole planet. I want to share it as far and as wide as possible, and I want people to adopt it. And then there's this pragmatic voice inside yourself that tells you like, oh, but I got bills to pay, and I want people to buy my book because I need the money to do these projects that I'm passionate about, and I don't want somebody to just copy my book and then sell it everywhere and they earn the money, and I am forced to do another side job that I don't like and can go fully into my passion. Like, of course, this dilemma is present in every day. How do you navigate that?
Yeah, I do have my moments where I'm like, this is stupid. This is, what am I doing? Everyone's saying don't do it, and you continue to do this. And yeah, I still stand by it, and I may not be the richest person in the world, but I'm rich in my life, and I get to travel, and for me, making impact is rewarding, and seeing statistics and figures about like the amount of waste we diverted. And for me, like, this collection is about being able to offer the restaurants and hotels on a bigger scale an alternative solution that is still financially feasible for them. But yeah, thank you. Yeah, I still want to. I'm still on a mission to prove to myself and other people that it is possible to make and survive and have this business plan that is not really very conventional, but it still allows me to do what I want to do. But yeah, for sure I could have gone and set up a factory and just produced millions of products and not let anyone do the same. But I'm sure people, I'm not that clever really, but anyone really could do what I do. So there's also that, you know, you can try and gatekeep it, and you can put things in patents, but with patents they have to be released after 20 years anyway. So, and
it's a lot of work.
It's a lot of money,
a lot of money that goes into legal and yeah. So
yeah, you can go down those routes, and maybe that makes sense for some businesses and some other people's missions. But yeah, the structures that are in place for those don't really suit what I'm trying to achieve. So yeah, I do have my moments where I question what I'm doing, but so far so good. So. For me, what is always very, what keeps me on my path of let me share, let me be open, let me be transparent, is to
shift my focus from the here and now, from like, oh wow, if I launch this book in that way, okay, maybe next month I could earn X, Y, Z, whatever, but really like zoom out and have a 10-year, 20-year, 50-year, 100-year time span as your measuring stick. And I would strongly believe that through you making your work accessible, you get connected to so many more people and new opportunities open up, and then in 3 years this huge collaboration will manifest that would not have come into reality otherwise, and then in the end you will have a lot more for yourself as well.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
but maybe
agree.
not tomorrow.
Maybe not tomorrow. But the typical business is looking to make up their loss in the second year, third year. Yeah. And that definitely makes them more siloed. And
the investor wants the money as quick as possible.
Exactly.
And then there we are in the dilemma of the economic system. Yeah, of course.
But by being transparent and open, I meet other people who are also transparent and open, and I learn so much from them. And we're growing together. So I think you attract those people on the same journey, and ultimately it actually has a much bigger reward in the long run.
But you mentioned it in the beginning briefly. I think the right thing, the value-aligned, regenerative, sustainable, and so on, needs to work in the current reality that we have. Otherwise it's just a utopian dream and it will not benefit anybody. And always working on bridging this or I would say strengthening your beautiful value-aligned thing and in infusing it with the resilience to work in the current hyper-competitive, extractive reality, I think is a very important game that many idealistic, value-oriented people shy away from, because they're like, oh, I hate the current system. I just want to build something new, and let's all sit together in peace, love, and harmony and hold hands all the time, and then we will manifest the new earth. I don't know if that will work. Yeah. I think we need to be cognizant of the necessity to
infiltrate, maybe, and just gradually creep up on them until they're like, damn.
There's it again, the fight metaphor.
But we could be really sustainable and go live in the woods and never emerge, and to have complete circular systems. But we have to be realistic that we are up against capitalism and the way we rely on all the systems that operate, and there's no getting away from that. So how we can infiltrate, I think that for me that is the right word in describing, because we're not competing with them. There's no way we can compete and getting
at their game.
Yeah. We're not going to win. So trying to work.
We're not going to make the cheapest. Like that was interesting when I reached it. Let me share that for a second. This is the I forgot it. Is it? Do we have the large or the small cup? Which is that?
This is you have the small one.
The small one. So this is 300,000 rupiah.
Mm-hmm.
And then I went on Tokopedia and I looked for a similar one. It's 16,000.
Wow.
Meaning 5%. Like you will not be able.
Wow.
5% of the cost of yours.
Yeah.
For only for me as a consumer. So you will not be able to make a cheaper cup in the way you're currently making your cup. It will not be possible.
No, not without people not getting fairly paid, respect for resources, and our own waste management and sustainability. We do sustainability training for staff. We've tackled every issue at Kavala. It's the fair price, and it respects the planet, the people. That 16,000 rupiah cup.
Yeah, it's insane.
Yeah.
How much blood was it cost in the production of this one? We don't know.
We don't know, but
good for them that it's not transparent.
But it's the same in the UK. We have Poundland shops where everything is sold for £1, and seeing those cups there, and I'm always looking for consumer transparency. I want to know where things are made, And for me, like, I wanted to make things that I had transparency about the materials. And yeah, when you see these cups at these prices, it's like, it makes you like, yeah, you're just trying to think or not think about the things that have happened negatively in order to get that cup.
What are the
At that
externalities of this
price.
one?
Yeah. To me, that's crazy.
That's what I love. You mentioned Fairphone. That's what I love about them, because when I got mine last year, I paid 599 euros for it. And for this price, I could get I don't know, 10 years before, I was always iPhone. And for 599, I could get a decent iPhone that is just, if you look at the product, I would say a better phone. The whole, I don't know, the whole interface, the camera is better. Like, the iPhone is just a better phone if you just look at the phone.
Yeah.
Um,
The text specs
and then the next question is like, okay, maybe Fairphone just sells a crappy phone for a high-end price and makes a lot of profit, but they are super transparent and they are publishing all their business statements and so on. And you see they are only making a tiny fraction as a profit. And you see that it's literally, if you want to produce this phone in a way that is in alignment with all the people that were touched and with the earth, you could not make it cheaper.
Yeah.
Like, having a better quality phone at the same price point or at a cheaper price point is only feasible if you're okay with all the externalities.
This is a battle that I constantly face, more so again with my friends, and when we have conversations about the price of sustainable or more eco-friendly products.
It's not the perfect phone. It's far away from a perfect phone. There's still like rare earth minerals and so on, but
Yeah, but it's just such a shame that the capitalist model has made the cost of things, what we think is the average cost for a product, it's brought it down so low that, yes, it looks like sustainable things are really expensive, and they're not making as much profit as the cheaper products, because they've tried to factor in and still make it accessible for the majority of people. And yeah, my products are 95% more expensive than that cup on Tokopedia, which is scary to think. But yeah, it's for the majority of people making that price comparison, and even me as like someone who's really sustainable, but I can't always afford the better option. And I think slowly, I really think those prices will come down. The costs of raw materials will go up. So hopefully that can change for the majority of people, because yeah, even now I can't always make the decisions that I want to make because of finance so, but yeah, but Fairphone's modular, right?
Yeah.
If one component breaks, you can repair it, which
I can change the battery, I can change the camera,
in
I
the
can
long
change
run,
the screen.
Financially, do you think it might?
I think like before the Fairphone, like realistically, I went through 5 or 6 iPhones over the course of maybe 10 years, because they broke, they were too old, the camera and the display broke, and repairing it was more expensive than buying a new one or whatever. And they are advertising 5, 6, 7 years of lifetime. And then in the end, of course,
you can recycle it with them.
It's a completely different story, but in the here and now, and I think it's not just the capitalist extractive system. I think it's like the underlying the Fairphone is this like all the resources that we are extracting out of the earth, they are finite, and currently we have them, and that's why we treat them as like all the fossil fuels, we treat them as like free resources because they are there, and this dictates the price point at which the product in the end gets sold. But without that, recently I heard a podcast and they said like no single industry on our planet would work if we didn't have these free, abundant, right now still abundant resources. Like not a single industry would be profitable at the price point they are currently selling if this would not be the case. If we just could not take from Mother Earth,
Yeah.
be it the wood or the oil or the whatever. So yeah, I like how you put that not the Fairphone or the circular ceramics is expensive, but all the other things are way too cheap.
Yeah.
Way too cheap, and that's why we got brainwashed at the that it's normal that a cup like this costs 16,500 rupiah, which is like less than €1, which is insane.
It is insane. Yeah. But I think when you learn about Fairphone and like businesses like that, you know, we talked previously about feeling overwhelmed. It's like, okay, there's big companies, they're successful, they're still operating and able to offer an alternative solution. It gives you that the motivation and energy to continue, that they are making a difference. So hope to be supporting or part of that collective of businesses that are trying to make things better, because there's definitely more compared to before.
There is, I think, one framework that might be helpful to introduce here. That this is a lens through which I look at a lot when I'm thinking about the whole custodian ecosystem that we are building right now. These are the three different levels. This is a British anthropologist, Marvin Harris, who created the three different structures, the three different levels on which we can create basically a new civilization. We need to reinvent the bottom layer, which is the infrastructure, like all the physical things, all the tech that goes into maintaining our lives. Like this is an example of that. But through only making changes on the infrastructure level, like all the tech guys saying, oh, if we just go all into artificial intelligence, then we have super AI and all our lives will be automated and we'll have abundance of everything and so on. Like if the other two layers stay the same, we will just have more extraction and more exploitation. Okay. But if we make changes on the second layer, which is the social structure, meaning how we coordinate, like all the institutions like education, our financial system, governance, politics, and so on, if we make changes here, together with the infrastructure, we can go a lot deeper. And still building something completely new will not be possible without also including the third layer, the superstructure, meaning what are our values, what is a good life for us. If we put the good tech, meaning this one or whatever, or the Fairphone, in service to the old value system that is still extractive, like I could say like, oh nice, we can sell this for $300 to some green hippies who value sustainability, let's exploit that. Like we could do all of that just for the sake of more extraction and more exploitation and make a little bit nicer branding and better Instagram marketing and so on, and maybe we can even sell it for 400, maybe we can even sell it for 500. Like then we will not create something new. I think we need changes on all these three different levels. We need to reinvent the infrastructure. We need to reinvent the financial system and governance and so on. And at the same time, the third level, our values. And this for me is what it means to be a custodian, to step into a value system where you actually value circularity and the regenerative approach and preserving the planet and so on, while also like not escaping into the woods and be like, wow, we understood it. The old system sucks. I don't want to be a part of that anymore. Let me just escape from it. But actually work within the current system and build new forms of technology and build new forms of governance in order to, you said infiltrate, I would even say maybe like guide or steward the whole conglomerate that is the current the current meta crisis apparatus into this new form. But for that, we definitely need to work on all these three different levels. But the beauty is they inspire each other. Like for me personally, having a cup like this or a Fairphone like this does something to, we already spoke about that, does something to my whole value field. Like this piece of technology, this piece of infrastructure changes me on a subtle level and lets me, invites me to make other decisions in my life in a more aligned way as well.
Mm-hmm. There's two things I want to say to that. I think, is it superstructure at the top?
Superstructure is the, yeah.
And,
like the culture.
And you talked about it being good for us. And I think sometimes when we think about us, it's like either ourselves or our community, but us has to be everyone
All
on the
life on
planet
Earth.
and not just the 5%
Yeah.
who are winning or
Yeah.
benefiting from
Yeah.
the systems we create. And it's sometimes it's hard to get the voice of everyone to be a part of that, because various reasons I don't think I could pin down all of them. And also,
and a lot of entities, they don't even have a voice, because the ant or the bamboo or the whatever or the lake, we cannot ask them, not with our way of asking them.
I'm
but we
loving
need to improve
seeing
them.
IP and ownership now go to nature, and that's really a new exciting narrative that is seeing more often in the design world, and not owning nature or owning nature's concepts and ideas. Like it's theirs, we just happen to be able to utilize it, for example. And the other thing is about, escaping into the woods. I think what we do is a silent or very quiet form of activism. Like we choose how we want to battle. Maybe not. You raise your eyebrow.
Please share.
But like I think when I hear the word activist, I think of people protesting.
Do you resonate with this term? Do you see yourself as an activist?
No, absolutely not. But I think maybe when I look at my work, it is a little bit like that. You're going against normal systems, and you're trying to make the changes, but in a different form. For me, it's through design. And in design schools, we often talk about design through activism, and activism through design. And so, but for me, I never related to the word activism and being an activist, but maybe the person escaping into the woods to live a less impactful life, that is a form of activism, and that's how they think they can make the best impact in the life that they have. And I really, I really respect that. And for me, it's about design, and other people will take on different routes. But I don't know if that comes under the bracket of activism. What do you think?
I don't know how it is for you, but I get, even though, especially on social media, a lot of criticism for flying, because flying is like the enemy. And you spent some time in Bali, some time in London. Like recently you got to Bali, you flew around the whole planet, which is obviously bad. We all know that. And still you chose to do that. And this shows that probably the number one thing that you're optimizing for is not causing less harm. Because of course, if I want to even here, I live here in the jungle, even when I'm walking barefoot on my little path that has no concrete, I will step on ants. I will cause harm. I will kill individuals. No matter what I'm doing, I'm causing harm. And of course, I can choose to cause less harm by escaping into the woods and cause as little harm as possible. But for me, and I'm curious how it is for you, for me, it's not about causing the least amount of harm, but having the ratio of the truth and goodness and beauty that I bring into the world for the amount of harm that I'm causing, have maximized that. And say yes to the occasional flight where, of course, I would rather not do it. But if this means I can speak at this conference and reach these, thousands of people and do all these beautiful ripple effects, maybe that's worth it. maybe not. It's always a tough decision, but how do you see that?
I think I really like the scale that you've put. You've put the scale of harm and change. So for me, yes, I got a flight from London to Indonesia, and it's not ideal, but I cannot create that change that I want to, and where I see a really big opportunity to make change if I don't catch that flight. So yeah, I think that sliding scale is a good way to judge personally, like how, the impact that you're having. But I think that's something I always battle with, and it's probably the easiest thing for someone externally to criticize about you or your practice. And yeah, it's hard. I think it's really hard. If there was another way that didn't cost so much and didn't take me a month to get here, I would take it. But
I even researched if it's possible to go from Europe to
I've looked at it.
Indonesia
I think
by
my
boat.
friend looked at it for me. She was like, you could get to Singapore.
Yeah. And it was like, I don't know, it was, 30 days and 5 times as expensive and like just insane. Yeah.
It still proves that we just rely on the systems that are made. But yeah, I think maybe the scale isn't harm and change. Maybe it's something else, but I think that's a good starting point to consider.
I would really like flights to be a lot more expensive.
Yeah.
Because what we talked about with the Fairphone and so on, like, I think if things would be priced at their true cost, of course, if I would pay for a flight to Europe and back, not $1,000, but $5,000, I would really, really think through if this makes sense, if this is the right thing to do.
Do you need it?
Yeah. Is the upside that I can have with that, is it actually worth it? I think the same is true for everything. Like, even if I would buy the cheap €1 cup on Tokopedia, like, I think it's very easy to fall into this trap of, it's so cheap, if I don't like it next week, no, it doesn't matter. Yeah. But buying something like this, you need to be really sure that it's the right thing, that you actually want it. And the same is true for the Fairphone or for whatever. And I love that. I love, for example, recently I got a new backpack from a Swiss company. They are manufacturing backpacks from banana leaves. They created a new kind of fabric. They call that banana tex. It's it's not the banana that we can eat, but like a different form of banana that they actually, I just love it. I just saw that and I was like, oh my God, I love this concept. Yeah. And the backpack was so fucking expensive. And I was really like for multiple weeks thinking about, can I do it? No. And then in the end I bought it. But it was definitely a process, and I think it was a very good process.
Full consideration.
Yes, full consideration, and really like appreciating. Now, as I have this backpack, for every little stain or whatever, I'm really like, because I need to protect, not only because I paid so much money, but I see the preciousness in this backpack, and not be like, what a cheap cup, if I don't like it, just throw it away.
Actually, this is a huge problem I have with Golden Studio and the fact that we give away waste materials for free.
They don't value that?
Yeah, and it's I think it's not their fault, but it's that, for me it's important that it's free so that it's accessible to people and that anyone can gain access to this byproduct to be part of their practice, or if it's community work. But I think when things are free, you think, okay, I'm going to take as much as I can. And it doesn't really matter what happens. If I don't use it or not, I can just discard it. And so that is why the transfer of clay custodianship was put together, so that we could try and change that mentality and say that because we haven't exchanged monetary value for this doesn't mean that it doesn't have value. And you should be responsible, or you are actually now responsible for the whole lifespan of this product. And if it's not beneficial to you anymore, in your practice, then you need to think about how you can get it into the hands of someone who can utilize it or return it to earth in a responsible way. So yeah, going back to the start, that is why that piece of paper came about, when we do the clay collections and distribute the byproducts from construction.
Do you want to give it a little bit of an introduction? You mentioned Golden Earth Studio many times. On the website, you write art for the Anthropocene.
Mm-hmm. What is
that for you?
For me, it's...
How do you see that?
So, Golden Earth Studio, we're ultimately we're an art gallery, and the whole process started. Actually, it started from on the mission with this cup, because I had all these relationships with industries, but there was one that just proved continuously to be the hardest to build a solid and sustainable connection, and so that was the construction industry. And for various reasons, there's health and safety challenges that we have to navigate. There's also the problem that they're never on one site. They're always in various sites, developing various properties and owned by different people. And they only have clay, which is the primary, when they're excavating, it's the biggest waste resource that they have. And yeah, that only happens in a short time period in the whole process of the construction of the property. So I met a guy called Gabriel Lau, who owns a property development company, and he told me he had loads of clay available, and I just thought, okay, that's amazing. Usually I'm having to reach out and email and rock up at all these construction sites to try and get access to clay, but there's someone who's willing to try and find a way to make it possible for not just me, but other people who want access to the material. And that's how Golden Earth Studio came about. So we hosted a clay collection where, when there was excavations for his properties, we invited people to come and collect as much as they want. And yeah, people ended up making beautiful artwork, and we now are a platform where we can sell the creations that people make from the byproducts we distribute. And so we work with, I mean, we've had tons and tons of clay collected. There's so many people who do different things, but we work with around 10 artists who produce a body of work that we can then find avenues to introduce back into the living environment. And so, yeah, that is Golden Earth Studio. And going back to what Art for the Anthropocene is, it's about showcasing art and creating a platform for art that is for a world where humans are having more impact on the earth for the first time, right? So, yeah, how can we create a product that is against, I mean, I don't know how to say this, but not support the Anthropocene, but start to go against and move away and create a world where we can have less impact through the things that we buy. So, yeah, that is...
I find it beautiful said. I find it so sad that the term Anthropocene, meaning the age of the humans, is something that in your practice you want to not fuel,
Yeah,
or like,
that's a good word, not fuel it.
Like who are we as a species that we arrived at a moment in time where we are actually saying we don't want to fuel the age of the humans.
Yeah. And sorry to bring in another work that I do with crafting coral, which is about regenerating reefs with ceramics in the community. Like we talk about how it takes around 30 million years for coral reefs to form. Yet humans come along, and since 1950, like we've had multiple global mass bleachings. We've lost 50% of our coral reefs globally. In 2050, we're expected to lose 90%. But these reefs took 30 million years to form.
A lot longer than we are here.
And we just are on the planet for 120 years max, and we feel like we have the right to extract and as much as we can from the planet for our benefit, and that makes me very sad and very concerned that we've built this mentality where we think it's okay to do that.
What is your explanation? How? Like how?
How do
how did we arrive
How did we do this?
there? Because I think
don't know.
in this lies
The solution.
the key. Yeah.
How did we get here? I'm not sure. I would love to have been alive in the early 1900s to see. I don't know. Do you think ego and power might have? There's always been ego and power, I think. But
I think if there would be no ego, we would not be sitting here.
yeah.
We would just
Be walking
lay
around
on the ground in the sun
Yeah.
and just be in eternal bliss, which is beautiful.
I don't think I've ever thought about how we got here, because it must be an accumulation of many things and over quite a long period of time, right, to get to that point. But
Because I find it interesting, like, what would you say, when was the beginning of the Anthropocene? With
would
which?
you say the Industrial Revolution? Or
Because I think that's the most common answer, I would say, like the past 200
100?
years,
Okay.
something like that. And I recently heard about the perspective where they were saying, and actually the beginning was when we experimented with the first tools, with the most basic forms of stone tools and spears and like whatever, which is, I don't know, a lot longer ago.
Maybe it's when we first fired clay to make it ceramic.
Probably.
You know, transforming Earth's resources to something it cannot return
Could
back
be.
to Earth.
Could be. Yeah. I think like I see our path as a species strongly interconnected with technology. And technology not meaning just like devices like this, but technology meaning all tools that are outside of our physical body that enhance our capabilities. And those give us a disproportionate amount of power and influence over our surroundings. And through that, we can do things that we could never do with our physical bodies. Just with our physical bodies, without technology, we would never be able to hunt a mammoth. We could not do that because we are not strong enough. And we would be eaten by the tiger because we are not fast enough. But through our use of technology, we ascended to the top of the food chain and have no equal enemy. Like every animal on the planet has, or the power of every animal on the planet is balanced by either another animal that is stronger, that keeps them in check, or for the lion, where there is no stronger predator, it's the fastness of the gazelle that keeps the lion in check, because sometimes it tries to hunt a gazelle, but it's just not fast enough, and then he has nothing to eat. And yeah, this is what, there are always other forces that keep the power of each individual in check. But we as a species, through our use of technology, we escape this, because there's no other force that keeps our power in check.
Well, can I argue
Of course.
against that?
Please.
Well, I think you're right. Yeah, we're on top of the food chain, but I think we've met our match in terms of nature, and that we cannot control nature. We cannot predict it anymore because of the way that we've behaved on the planet. And I think in the coming year, like in the future, that's going to be our biggest enemy, because we cannot control it. It's unpredictable. Potentially we cannot sustain life on this earth because of nature.
But I would say nature is not something out there. We are part of nature.
Yeah.
So nature for me is like, people
We are
always
one, not
always talk about, everyday language, like you yesterday. I'm looking forward to our interview and to be in nature. This is how we speak, as nature being something that is just here and not somewhere else. But I think everything, like even somehow even this is part of nature, because it's everything on our planet.
But feel connected. I think that's the word I missed, right? Like in Denpasar, I'm not feeling connected to nature.
Yeah.
But here, You are, and
but you are nature. Like
yeah.
I think I find language so fascinating because it tells us a lot about
The systems we develop.
yeah. And I think if I see nature as the good thing that needs to be protected, and Homo sapiens as the bad guys who are exploiting everything, I don't think this view is helpful in designing something new, because you see that a lot in the activist circles of like, we are the bad guys, like, and there's a certain sense of, I don't know, what is even the word for it. I just have this scene from the movie Da Vinci Code in my mind, where the guy, because he was not living according to all the religious requirements, every day he was punishing himself with this massive thorny whatever. He hit himself on the back to punish himself. And of course, you could argue that we as a species caused all this harm, because if there would be no Homo sapiens, no lion or no grizzly bear or whatever would create the Anthropocene. They were not powerful enough because they didn't develop the capacity to use technology. And at the same time, I don't think it's helpful to see us as the bad guys. And that's why I like this image that I shared earlier about the chicken embryo and the shell, of like, us developing all this power so that now we can use that as that's what custodianship is for me, to use that for the common good.
Yeah, and that's why I like the word custodian that you use, because it feels gentle in terms of the way that we tread on our planet, the way we approach life. So I think that is a philosophy that needs to be discussed and just even challenged. Like, it's good to have people challenge it and change behaviors, I think, because for me it's really easy to like make sustainable materials and design a more sustainable product, but to create behavioral change is something that is really long term and persistent, and within the factory itself, creating the behavioural change amongst the staff is something that is long-term and ongoing. It's easy to substitute a waste material for a virgin resource, but yeah, building that language and asking other people to adopt it as well is really challenging.
But I think there we come back to the to this image of the 3 different layers we need to think about, because if we just innovate on the infrastructure level and the people stay the same, like,
nothing much is going to change.
Not a lot will change. So, how do you see yourself on your journey towards this quality of custodianship? Where, beyond your work as a ceramicist, like how do you see your journey?
I feel like I'm a voice for waste materials or byproducts.
That would be nice in your Instagram bio, by the way.
Voice of waste
voice
materials.
for waste product. I love that. I love that.
Because it's easy to overlook them, and for me in my practice, they're always my primary choice, whereas other businesses might see it as secondary or not even a part of the choice. So for me, primary choice is byproducts, waste materials that suddenly have reached their end of life or don't have a purpose, and finding ways to integrate them back into society, whether it's in ceramic production or within the construction industry and the artists, or in coral regeneration. That's how I see myself. So, and through that, by doing that, it's through relationships and building connections.
And what do you think? Are you specifically invited to embody or to integrate in order for you to be able to bring your personal impact to the next level? How do you see your own journey intertwined with the amount of good that you can bring into the world through your practices? What are your individual tasks or developmental homeworks so that you're able to bring that more powerful and more and spread that more into the world?
I think it's always coming down to the research and staying up to date what's happening globally and understanding how systems are shifting. I think that is a responsibility that I have for myself in order to make sure I'm doing the right things, or what I think might be the right things. And yeah, so doing that by having conversations with people, yeah, I'm not sure, just, I think it's conversations only actually, just by speaking to people and from different communities, different backgrounds, different practices, and having that holistic view. I know I've said that quite a few times, but
Listening, right?
it's so important
Yeah.
for me to, because yeah, maybe this might benefit the community here, but globally is it having a negative effect? Yeah, I think trying to think about the bigger picture always, and where you fit into it is what's most important.
I feel that this attitude of in the beginning we talked a lot about the insane complexity of the whole ecosystem on our planet and the ecosystem on that is a forest. I think to not default when you're in touch with that, with this like, it's too complex, I cannot understand it, I cannot, like, I just give up.
Yeah,
But come from this place of humility of, wow, I'm so far away of grasping it, so let me be very delicate, very careful, very slow even in my journey of there's more to learn before just going for the first best thing and then in the end realizing, wow, we caused a lot of harm elsewhere. I think this is very important, and still be like, okay, wow, let me try to grasp as much as possible, and let me, like, even though there's an infinite amount to learn and I will never be done with it, let me deepen my understanding of the whole landscape where I'm at every single day.
yeah, yeah. I think that's how I feel pretty much all the time. Like, we're always learning. It's great to have these conversations and get different perspectives and evolve your philosophy about your practice and how to live the best as we can on the planet. So yeah, it was good to have this conversation.
Well said. Well said. Before
The rain.
I would say Mother Nature ends our conversation, at least our conversation on camera. Looking forward to continue that. I would like to honor you for the amazing and important work that you're doing, because I think for me personally, as somebody who never before in his entire life thought about ceramics and what went into that, I think it has a ripple effect that is far greater than just the physical cups that you're producing, because you are bringing people a little bit closer in their connection with the sacred, with the, like, this ingraspable quality that was present with us during our whole conversation, this appreciation for life itself. And I thank you for doing that. It inspires me, and I think it inspires a lot of people out there. And I'm very curious to see how this ripples further over the next 5, 10, 20, 50, 5,000 years, in order to contribute to a different definition or a different manifestation of the Anthropocene. Let's make the Anthropocene an era where future species, when we are no longer there, are like, wow, these guys actually did an amazing job. And I think we are far from there.
Yeah.
But we just continue. Thank you for doing that.
Thank you. Woo.
That's beautiful.
Yeah. For me, that's amazing to hear that it's not just the product, because that's what you hope for, but to know about it or measure the behavioral change is so hard. So yeah, that's really amazing to hear.
After this beautiful conversation with Sara, we had the opportunity to meet with her again the next day at the Kevala factory, where all her beautiful pieces of art gets manufactured. So we understand on a deeper level what really goes into creating those circular products that are in service to the thriving of this whole planet. Let's go.
In ceramics, we use plaster molds to create shapes that are not circular, that we cannot form on the wheel. So this plaster mold, we would have a master mold, so it would be the shape, and then we would make multiple casts of that form so that we can be more efficient in production. And what we would do is we'd close up the mold like this, and then you see there's two holes. We then pour the liquid clay into the holes.
Okay, cool. Yeah.
We'd let it sit. You can do different types of casts. It could be solid cast, it could be hollow cast. So you could let it sit and let it harden for 20 minutes. And then this is the wheel section. So things that are circular and symmetrical can be formed on the wheel.
Circular in terms of shape, not
yes,
in terms of, got it.
So there's two stages to throwing. You've got the throwing the form, and then you've got trimming, which is what you can see here. And everything is done to a precise weight, measurement, diameter, and clay shrinks around 18% from the moment you form it to the final product.
18%?
Yeah, so that's something we have to factor into the calculations.
Ah, okay.
So this is a technique called sgraffito. So we can brush on a colored slip onto the piece, and then we'll carve away the excess of the design, so you end up with something like this, and you can feel the texture on it. So those are all done by hand, same like these teapots here.
Wow. Thank you.
I can see.
The color changes like to the
dramatically.
dark.
Yeah.
Okay, wow.
Yeah.
In the beginning it's red.
And then once we're happy with the form, it gets BIS fired, so it'll come out like this. It's fired to 1000 degrees. So it's much more durable, but it's still porous, and that's important for the glazing process, which is going to take place next. And then the glazing takes place over here. So I talked about the spray booth before. These are all spray booths. They're still the glaze will be a combination of different minerals mixed in powder, and then we add liquid. So that's why you can spray. Let's see if anyone. You can spray on the glaze, and you can change the nozzle to how thin or large the particles are. So yeah, maybe you can see over here. Maulihat. And you can see those are like slightly thicker particles, so they're going to add a color texture to the piece. And so that water is for health and safety. It catches all the stray particles.
Okay,
so
yeah, I wanted to ask that.
It.
What is it called?
But the particles build up at the bottom in that tank. And that is what used to just be emptied every month and sent to landfill. And that's what we can now process, and we get, it's like 2 tons. It's 1.7 tons, I think, that we can collect with each reclamation. And we can process that into a new glaze. But it's a limited, whatever the color is, that's what that's what it is. And we can never recreate it. We can try, but that defeats the point. And this is one of the kilns. So this is our biggest one. It's come from Italy. All the way
It's one of
from
the
biggest kilns we have. It's come from Italy all the way down the bypass to here. And after the pieces are glazed, it'll look like this. So it's got that thin powder, all that water's absorbed. And then in the kiln, it will flux and melt. So you end up with a finished product like this.
What's the temperature in there?
1240 roughly, but each corner has a slightly different temperature. So each glaze, we know, okay, you have to put it in this corner or that corner. It's really temperature sensitive. So yeah, that's one of the downsides to having a big kiln, is that you don't get an even distribution of heat.
This kind of reminds me to a sauna, right?
I was thinking exactly the same. It's a little bit less comfort, but
People aren't coming to a factory for fun most of the time, except for us. And something important to note is that we have quality control at every stage of production. So if anything's not quite right, it just gets recycled, and we can prevent waste from occurring. This is the quality check for the final product. So once it's through production, everything is checked, the specs are checked, and then it's sent off to the client. We don't hold stock really, it just goes. And this is a most recent map out of the waste streams. So we look at each department. We've got clay, glaze, wheel, QC, firing, casting.
What is QC?
Quality control.
Oh, yeah.
And then we asked each team to come and map out and talk about what waste they produce from each one. So only they know best about what is happening in those departments. So they could say the spoon is plastic, or we have waste paper from the old order cards. And this is something that we are mapping out as a community, and that allows the sustainability team to pick our battles and prioritize which one we're going to tackle first. But yeah, this was a really good task, helping the sustainability team to understand like the small areas where we might have waste and we might not see it on surface level.
What is your personal journey after the second collection gets launched? Are you like multi-year partnership with Kavala, or you don't know about that?
I don't know about that. I think what I want to do is work with bioregional manufacturing, so work with perhaps production in Portugal or UK, set up similar systems with a factory there, and my work can then be supplied to those local countries, because shipping this product to Europe is not ideal. It's not what we want. Some people still buy it, and it's the best solution that they have. So yeah, that's what I want to do, is work with different factories, release different products, get into